All right, we're going to talk about making your company more valuable, more sellable, close more leads, convert more deals, increase profits, all through the magic word systems. We're going to how to reduce sales times, why follow-up is not insulting, the biggest mistake made after the sale, why creatives hate the processes and systems, and how actually that hatred enslaves them, the danger of sales team silence and how to avoid it, the reasons systems gets agencies fired, and uncovering the biggest ROI on systems. I've got Adi Klevit. Adi, say hi.
Hello.
And don't forget, before we get started, this is brought to you by videocasestory.com. We've got an incredible system for planning out, finding your goals, crafting, collecting, and delivering video case stories to increase sales leads. All of these things, the system is done for you. If you'd like us to do it for you, go to videocasestory.com/get started. All right. And speaking of which, let's get started.
My name is Gino Wickman. I was introduced to Ian, and that's what brought me into this video world and got me embracing this video world. And Ian did exactly what I hoped. He got me really comfortable with putting videos out to the world and having a great strategy around putting videos out to the world, because there's so much more than just shooting a video. And so the way that he positions those videos, optimizes those videos, he's done a great job.
All right, Adi Klevit. Adi and I are going to talk today about business systems, specifically marketing systems, because it is probably one of the most important things that I see everyone failing at. And quite coincidentally, my good friend Greg Hickman, who's a master of systems, was just calling me, so I'll give him a shout out too. But Adi, let's talk real quick about your business and what you do. But first, let's talk a little bit about your business.
Yeah. Hi, Ian. First of all, good to be here on the podcast. And this is what we do: is we create, document, and implement processes and procedures for businesses. And the reason why we do that, or the reason why I started this business, is for this particular, exactly what you just said. I was more working as a general business consultant. My background is industrial engineering. And what I noticed is that when I would tell my clients to document their processes, I will have agreement that, yeah, we need to do that, right? Or sometimes there will be a little bit of resistance in terms, we can talk about that, like why people resist it, but they will just not do it. So then I go, okay, how about if I find somebody to do it for you? Oh, yes, that's absolutely. I go, oh, there is a niche here. So you're absolutely right in terms of businesses need systems. They need systems, they need processes, but it needs to be done. Those processes and systems have to be created and documented and implemented.
It's everything. And I was lucky early on to realize that and really drove it home and spent lots of money and lots of time before I knew there were people that did this. And I wish I would have had the shortcut, because it's also what makes a business sellable, isn't it?
Absolutely. I have several examples of clients that sold their business and got a higher price because they had well-documented processes and procedures. Yes.
It's key. And then it makes it easier to hire people, train people. From my standpoint, marketing and sales, everyone wants to lead. And it's amazing to me. I talk to so many agency owners that have no idea about a sales system, have no idea like what they're going to do. They build up funnels, but they have no idea of having a system. And explain to me a little bit. I think a lot of people need to understand the difference between having a funnel and having a sales system.
The system is basically something that is systematic, something that you are doing over and over. It's like a process. You can have a funnel, and a funnel really should be, it's part of a process, right? You can have a funnel, which is a process by itself on how you get the leads, on how you get the lead through the different stages, but you have to have a system of how you actually follow up, on how do you make sure that you don't miss on any part of the funnel. Okay, so let's talk about a specific example. So a funnel, like what will be, and give an example of a good funnel that you, let's say the funnel you use or other marketing agencies use. What would be like a good example?
A lot of them do a lead funnel where it's just, okay, I've got a lead magnet and I send 3 emails and that's it. But they're missing when someone says, I want to be a client.
Okay, but let's talk about the funnel will be, okay, so the funnel will be, so I'm reaching out either on LinkedIn. Let's say I'll talk about my funnel. Okay, so I reach out, either you can have reaching out on LinkedIn, you can have paid ads, you can have referrals, you can have business development, whatever the top one is in terms of the contact, right? You have to somehow reach out to the leads, right? Then you get responses. So then you respond, you book them, let's say for a free intro, and then from there you go down the funnel, right? You close them, you send a proposal, etc. So you know what the funnel is. So when you are building the funnel, you're basically building the general outreach, and then you build, let's say you have a link that they can sign it on your calendar, etc. But what is the system that you are using? Meaning, who does it? How many times are you actually doing it a week? How often do you reach out? When you actually get a response, how do you respond? And I think that is a key here, because the funnel can be reach out, then respond, then interview, then etc. But how do you respond? Who responds? How do you respond? For instance, internally, I have well-documented procedures of when we get a response, my office manager knows how to respond it. We have a very specific response that we still customize it to the person according to who responded, but we have very specific things. What do we send? And then how do we follow up? Because that's where you also lose sales if you don't have a system for follow-up, right? Because let's say you got 10 responses from your outreach. Okay, so you send an email to schedule. People don't schedule right away. I don't. I know that. But then if you have a follow-up, a system to follow up, then you have better chance to actually go to the next step, which should be an interview, right?
Oh, it's so crucial. And I think you said a few important things there. You customize it, right? You have the system, but you customize it. I think so many people just want to automate all of that sales system. And if you have I can understand if you're selling something that's $50 and I just need to sell 1 million of these widgets. But if you're selling something that's $5, $10, $20, $100,000, you better have a customized approach, and it should be systematized, right?
Absolutely. And the customized approach, you can have a generic, let's say, for instance, you reach out to me and you want to know about our services, right? So I would still send you our pre-selling video. I would still send you information. Our potential clients, I will send you a list of testimonials. I will send you maybe a list of references to talk to. But the references, let's say if I want you to talk to references, I will send you specific references that have to do with marketing agencies, right? I'm not going to send you to talk to a general contractor. So that again is customized. But as an example, this morning I got a lead, and we have these things that we send will be a template, but I look at the website, I learn what they do, I give them references to similar industries that we work with. I'm trying to make that human connection, which you cannot do if you just automate, because then you lose that touch. So I agree with you.
I think that's important too, is systems allow you to make more of a human connection versus automation that kind of steps away from that. But when you have that system, you don't have to think about it as much. You still have a thought process, but you're not thinking about it as much. I think and a lot of people push against that, don't they? They think that, oh, I'm a great salesperson, I don't need a system for following up.
And I interview many of people in my podcast that actually said the opposite. And we know that sales, you can be a great salesperson, but really, if you have a great system for follow-up, that's when you're going to become a great salesperson, because it's the repetition. We all heard that. It is like 7, 9 times that you have to reach somebody before they say yes, or whatever it is. You have to create that system so you can work. Depends what you want. If you want to work harder and every time generate more leads and then have a certain percentage that you close, fine, reinvent the wheel every single time, right? But if you want to have more time, if you have more closes, if you want to invest less time in the front end in terms of, we talked about the funnel in terms of getting more leads, but cultivating the leads that you have, then you do need a system for follow-up.
And yes, you need a system for follow-up. And we had Jim Padilla on, which I think Jim, and he talks about you've got to follow up and constantly follow up and follow up and follow up and follow up. Right now, there's just so much noise and we get so busy. And I can tell you that right now, we just had a home service today. I'm not going to say which one because I don't want to get like 8,000 people attacking me, but it took that person like 9 times of following up with me and texting me and everything. And it wasn't because I didn't want it. is because I have 20, I'm on podcasts and I've got phone calls. And I think people don't.
The same thing happened to me. I had my handyman, he actually came here last week. There's something that he needs to do. And when I needed to contact the HOA to find information, not that I didn't want to, I of course want him to come and do it. I just didn't have the time. And the email just went down in the bottom of my email list, like my personal email. Like at work, I'm definitely on top of it, but I'm just in terms of my personal email was like, oh, forgot about it. So then he followed up and I go, oh yeah, I should do it. So there's nothing wrong with following up. I think it's actually a courtesy thing, because if you don't, what you're communicating is, I don't really care. I don't need the business. I'm not really on top of it. We know that we need to play the follow-up game. So I don't think there is anything wrong with following up.
I agree with you, and having a system to do it reminds you. And then you get the sale. And I know a lot of people, the other thing I hear from people is they don't have any type of onboarding system. And I think onboarding is almost a bad word for it, because it's a client excitement and happiness system, isn't it?
It is. It's the welcoming. It's the welcoming the client to the family, right? How do you do that? What do you do? What are the steps? Because that is the most dangerous part of the sale, if you would, because that's when people can have buyer's remorse, right? Mm-hmm. Or they go, okay, they really treated me really well during the sales process, but now that I'm a client, I'm not really getting how is the process? And they really judge you on that. So I think that building a really good onboarding or welcoming client process is very important. And you can automate some of it. What I mean by automating is making sure that a new client will receive, let's say, a welcome video. So either you can record, if you can record a new video every single time, that's great. If not, then talking about video, which is your expertise, then definitely you create those videos that are going to work for the client to communicate to a certain type of clients. Maybe you can have several videos, whatever it is, you have to have a system of the actions you're going to do in order to onboard a new client.
Yes. 100%. And like we've talked about before, Joey Coleman talks about this in his book, and we've had him on the podcast, but it is crucial to profits. It's not just making a client happy. That first 90 days can increase 5% increase in customer satisfaction leads to 25 to 100% increase in profits. So I think a lot of these people think these systems, you don't miss leads, and you close deals faster, and you make clients happier, and you profit more, and you don't lose clients, and you get more referrals. Systems aren't a nice to have. They're a profit generator, aren't they?
Absolutely. I think it's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's why do people not do this? It seems pretty obvious to me. What is the roadblock to it?
That's interesting. It can be a mindset that, as you said, I don't need processes, or processes are going to block my creativity, or I don't want to be corporate-ish. I left my corporate job so I can be an entrepreneur and do whatever I want. But those are all misconceptions, because honestly, you're not going to have freedom, and you're not going to be able to free yourself from your business if you don't have systems, because you're going to be a slave to your business, because you're going to reinvent the wheel every single time. So that's one reason. Another reason is because some processes change. You might go, okay, onboarding process. So I need to wait until I actually figure out the onboarding process of a new client before I document it. I would say document what you have right now and then improve upon it. And as you're improving upon it, then document it, redocument it, create videos, create whatever it is, but create something and then improve upon it, as opposed to waiting. So that would be my advice on that one.
Yeah, the improving.
Another reason is just, go ahead.
I was just going to say, how do you make sure you're improving upon it? Because I think then a lot of people are like, I think to your point, a lot of people think they have to make it perfect. And then the perfection prevents them from doing it. But I think knowing that they can improve it will help them. How do you make sure it gets improved upon?
First of all, it doesn't have to be perfect. It is a process that you can use. Is much better than no process, and it will save you time. First of all, just leave aside the idea or the concept that it has to be perfect. That's not going to happen. You perfect it. Mm-hmm. So the way that you actually improve upon it is you have to have scheduled time for periodic reviews. So if it's a new process, I will say, let's review it weekly, monthly, the most, but definitely weekly. So I'll give you an example. I was writing a sales process. I was creating a sales process with a company. And we created it according to what they had right now. And then we also figured out some things that maybe we need to change, etc. So we did. And then every week on their weekly sales meeting, I showed up for 6 weeks and we processed issues that came up on the sales process. And we identified whether it's a people problem or a process problem, and what do we need to do in order to actually refine the process. And everyone on the sales team was part of it. So they were aware of it. They were aware of the process that exists right now. And they were aware of having to find solutions, but find solutions based on an actual issues that presented themselves.
And tell me a little bit about that when you're helping them, because to me, I would say having an outside consultant helps. And a lot of people, I don't think, realize the value of it. But can you give me some specific examples of things that you altered that made a huge impact on the sales team?
Yeah, of course. For instance, the communication with the client. Okay, so let's say, for instance, you're selling something that you created a proposal, or you did a first assessment or the first interview, and then you need to gather information. Okay, so it might take you, maybe you're a little bit backlogged on your estimate, so maybe it takes about 2 to 3 weeks to get back to the client. That's dangerous. That's silence. That's vacuum. That's like nothing happens, right? So what we did is we implemented a system for follow-up and staying in communication with the client throughout that time and keeping them up to date about what is happening, right? So it will be anywhere between sending them a video of, okay, well, check out our different projects that we have done, to this is what we are doing right now. Stay tuned. We're going to get back to you by Tuesday. And then by Tuesday, we basically send another one of giving them more information. So there is constant communication that buys you time to actually get them what they need at the end of those 2 weeks that you promised. But it's not just quiet and they forget about you and maybe go to your competition. So that's an example.
It is. And it's good that you see that, because I think, and giving your sales team the right tools to follow up. I can tell you, like, I was a part of a huge sales organization, and huge 200 people who are a part of 1,000-person sales organization. And there were no sales systems. And I had to build all my systems myself. And I was just like, I could not believe it that a company at that size did not develop, here's how you follow up. Here's how you do a discovery call. Here's how you do this. And everyone was just doing their own thing. And I can't imagine how much money they wasted and how much time they wasted. And
completely. And to your point is also, it has to be uniform, because let's say, especially in a big organization like that, let's say you have turnover, or let's say you are a great salesperson, but you're not there because you actually took a vacation. Well, if you don't have a system to actually document what happened and take notes, and it doesn't remind you, then that lead basically gets lost and people don't know what happened there and what is being done.
Oh, it's so true. So true. It's just millions of dollars lost, right? Because of not having the systems. And just want to say something, like, to that point, you work with, let's say you're a marketing agency and you work with clients, right? You have your clients. You have to also check if your clients have systems in place, because you can be the best marketing company and you can get them a lot of leads. But if they don't know how to absorb those leads and they don't have a sales system to close those leads, then you know how it goes. They will basically blame you because you're not good, because they didn't get the results. Because why would you hire a marketing agency in order to increase sales and increase profitability? But as a market, and I can say that because I work with many marketing agencies in terms of documenting their systems. One of the things is actually checking with the potential client, and that's part of your sales cycle. Like, what if I'm going to give you, okay, you want to 10x your leads, no problem, I can do that. What are you going to do with them? Walk me through the system of how are you actually going to get those leads? Because what can happen is that you can inundate them with leads, and then they will cancel your contract because they will say, I can't handle it. Systems are collapsing because it's not just the onboarding, it's also the delivery of the product. So as a marketing agency, you have to look at yourself in terms of like your own systems, but also really check the systems of your clients, because that can hinder your success. And so when you analyze a company and you go in and tell me a little bit about how you figure out which systems they have, how do you analyze their systems? How do you make sure they have the right systems?
Sure. So the first thing that we do is we basically go in there and map the system, the processes, right? So we take a look at the different parts of the organization and we map their processes and identify what do they have already created, what do they have documented, because people can have processes, but maybe they're not documented. So we take an inventory and then we prioritize where to start. So my question is always, all right, let's take a look at this map we just created. And what area, if you had well-documented processes and procedures, will get you the biggest return on investment? And why, right? And what is return on investment? Let's define that. Obviously, we want higher profits. But so for some businesses, a return on investment will be for the owner to be able to sell the company at a higher price, which leads to profitability. For others, it can be that they can actually leave work at 6 p.m. and go spend some time with their family, right? Maybe they can take now a 2-week vacation without having to be tied to the phone all the time. So what is your return on investment? All right, so then let's start with that area. What area in the company, if you had those processes and procedures, that will give you the biggest return on investment? And then once we document, then we try out the procedures, make sure that they work, get the feedback from the team, and then start rolling it out to the entire company.
That's great. And how often do you recommend reviewing the systems?
It really depends on the maturity of the systems, right? If it's something that you just changed or just created, I will review it pretty often. If it's a system, if it's a process that it's working and you don't anticipate any change, definitely every 6 months or once a year can be also. In between 6 months and once a year, you decide. But I would also recommend creating an internal process that if there is a change, and a change can be because you get a new software, because maybe you hired there is a new position, maybe something changed that you didn't want to change, but you saw that your CRM that you're using changed something or whatnot, right? Or different changes in the industry. So have a trigger where somebody is in charge of those processes that they will receive the request for change. Meaning, don't wait for your review in order to change the processes, but change them as the change happens. And then do the review in order to look at things that you maybe didn't change yet, but you want to change. Or if there was something that was working before and not working anymore. And it's not like I'm advocating change all the time. You will have systems that are working, so you have to be careful not to change them, right? So that's where the review comes in, to make sure that you look at it newly and all the processes that you have in place are actually accurate. I'll give you an example. Like I was actually getting off a call. I just got off a call before this podcast with a client, and we looked at one of the procedures and she goes, oh, this is outdated now, because this is when I used to write paper checks, but I don't do that anymore. We do everything by wire transfer. So we had to revise the process because it affected other steps in the process as well. So then we changed it and we basically moved the sequence of steps and we recreated some of the steps, and now it's a procedure that can be used.
It's amazing. Yeah. But that, like you said, it frees up so much time. It makes sure things are done the right way. And systems and checklists, pilots know their entire system left and right, but they still use that checklist every single time, don't they?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Tell me about working with you. How does someone work with you? They're like, oh man, I need these systems. I need all my systems documented. I need a sales system. I need a lead follow-up system. Tell me a little bit about how we work with Adi.
The best thing is to, contact me, and then let's schedule a free mapping session. And then we'll identify the priorities and where to start. The working is I have a team of very trained consultants and technical writers. And basically what I just described, that's the process. It's like we map, we identify priorities, and then we start documenting. And it's a done for you service, meaning we are going to schedule a weekly meeting of about 90 minutes with the subject expert, right? With those that actually are experts in, say, we decide to start with sales, I will ask you, okay, so who knows your sales system the best? Who should we clone? Maybe it's the business owner, maybe it's a sales manager, whomever it is. We are setting meetings with those people, and we are basically have them walk us through their process, extract the information, record it, screenshots, videos from what we record. We take that video, we create processes off of that video. We send it to you very organized every single week so you can see what was done. You have to approve it, and then it's rinse and repeat. We go again and again until we actually complete the entire process, let's say sales process, and then we can move on to another area of the organization.
That's fantastic. And yeah, I can vouch for this because not only does it will help you close more leads and make happier customers and make more profits, but it makes your company more valuable, untraps you from the business. It's everything. It is everything in a business, and it's something that you need to do, and it's a great investment. So how does someone get in contact with you to get started?
The best thing is you can go to my LinkedIn, which is Adi Klevit. So it's ADI-KLEVIT. And all the information is there, and it actually has a place there to schedule a free consultation. You can also go to our website, which is bizsuccesscg.com. Text us at 503-662-2911. Many ways, but yeah, just either LinkedIn or text us, or the website is the best.
It is. Okay. Awesome. So we'll put a link to all that in the show notes. Adi, thank you so much for being on the Garlic Marketing Show.
Thank you, Ian, for the interview. It was a great conversation about systems and processes.
And thank you all for taking Adi and I on your journey. This has been Ian Garlic and the Garlic Marketing Show.